Hi everyone, my name is Cyprienne and today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet the Brighton mug rug. So these are made using 2 strands of worsted weight cotton yarn held together. When I was designing, I did try single strand, but I have a wood table underneath this sheet here and it is very sensitive to water and to heat, and so I felt like I needed the 2 strands to make it so that it would give the table enough protection. So these ones are made out of the Loops and Threads Capri cotton. And one thing I do want to mention, if you're planning on using different cottons, be aware that they will come out a different size. So this one is Bernat Handicrafter, and so it's just a little bit bigger. Now that doesn't matter if you're not making a set, but if you're making a set, you want to make sure that the gauge of your cotton matches. So probably the easiest way is to use the same kind of cotton. They're about 4 inches by 4 inches, and the main part of the coaster takes 25 grams of yarn, and then for the fringe is 5 grams. So if you want to do contrasting, you know how much you need of each. So this pattern is also worked using 2 strands held together. So if you know how to make double crochet and chain stitch, I think that you can give this a try. If you are a beginner crocheter, it can be a little bit difficult to start the first couple of rows, but then once you have those under your belt, it is very easy to work because it is a 1-row repeat. I'll put a complete list of the materials above, but to get started today, all you need is 25 grams of worsted weight yarn. You can use acrylic if you like, and a 6.5 millimeter hook. Okay, so pause the video, grab your supplies, and then we'll meet up and get started. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to let you know that if you want to resize this mug rug, if you want to make it bigger or smaller, just keep your starting chain a multiple of 2. So any number that is divisible by 2 will work. But for today, we're going to start by chaining 14. So we'll just start with our slip knot using the 2 strands of yarn held together, and then chain 14. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll go off camera and finish up. 1, 2, 13, 14. Okay, so for row 1, we're going to be working a double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So that's your first chain, second chain. We're just going to go right in there and work a double crochet. Followed by a chain stitch. Then you're going to skip the chain. You're going to skip the next chain and work another double crochet into the next. Okay, and that has created a chain 1 space, and you'll see what those are as we work further along. So you're going to chain 1, skip the chain below, and then work a double crochet into the next. So that is your row 1. You're going to work that way all the way across, and you're going to end with a double crochet in the very last chain. And then we'll meet up and I'll show you how to count your stitches, because it's going to be very important. In this pattern, you want to make sure that the edges of your mug rug stay nice and straight. And the easiest way to do that is to just make sure that you're counting every row. Okay, and I'm just finishing up here with a double crochet in that very last stitch. And then we'll count our stitches. So here's your very first double crochet, and that's your chain 1. So that's 2 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So that's 13 stitches. So you want to make sure for every row moving forward that you have 13 stitches. Then we're going to just chain 2 and turn. And then we're going to work into a double crochet. We're going to work a double crochet into the skipped chain. And we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip over this double crochet and then work in the chain underneath the chain 1 space, a double crochet. Then we're going to chain 1, skip that double crochet and work in the chain underneath the chain 1 space. So just work that way and stop when you get to the last 2 stitches. So these last 2 stitches here. Chain. And all you're going to be doing is working into this very last stitch, a half double crochet. Okay, now you're going to chain 2 and turn. And then for row 3, what we're going to be doing is working into the double crochets below the chain 1 space. So you're going to work a double crochet into that double crochet there. You're going to chain 1, skipping over the next double crochet and working into the one of the row below. We're going to work another double crochet, chain 1, and work a double crochet into the double crochet below, and just do that until you get to the last 2 stitches of the row, and then I'll show you how to finish that off. Okay, so I'm at the last 2 stitches here. I'm going to make a chain, skip over this one, and work a half double crochet into that turning chain. Okay, we're going to chain 2. And work into that double crochet below. We're going to chain 1, skip over the double crochet, and work into that double crochet below. So this is the pattern repeat for the entire pattern. It's the same way. And just remember that you're going to work a half double crochet into this turning chain here. And remember to count your stitches to make sure that you have 13 for every row. I'll just finish this one off, show you one last time, and I'll show you again how to count. I will put the instructions in the video above so that you can use those as a reference. Okay, and we're just going to do a chain 1. I'm going to skip over this stitch here and work a half double crochet into that turning chain there. Okay, so I have just finished my last row, and my piece measures 4 inches by 4 inches. So now what we're going to do for our last row is we're just going to close those holes. So you're just going to chain 2 and turn, and then you're going to work a double crochet into that double crochet below, followed by a single crochet in the next double crochet here. So I'm sort of losing my lighting a little bit. I'm hoping you guys can see this okay. You're going to work a double crochet into the double crochet below, and then a single crochet in the next double crochet there. So just work that all the way across, and then I'll show you how we do the fringe. Now, if you already know how to do a fringe, but you're wondering how I got it to look fluffy like this, you just use a comb, or if you have a dog brush or something, and just keep combing it through. So I trimmed it, combed it, and then trimmed it again. So if you're going to trim it, make sure that you don't, I have actually one here, just make sure that you don't trim it too short to start with. See this one, I have a little bit longer, and then I'll work on combing that, and then I'll trim that down. Okay, so I'll just go ahead. I'm completely tangled. Look at my mess. That's my oh my goodness. Okay, so I'll finish working to the end and make sure that you end with a half double crochet in this last stitch. Okay, I'm at my very last stitch here, and I am going to use a half double crochet in that stitch there because it sits a little lower, and the half double crochet will help to give it some height. So now you can just fasten off, and you're going to weave in the ends and then start on the fringe. Okay, so now that we've finished closing up all those holes at the top, you can either, well, you want to fasten off, you want to cut your yarn, and you can weave in any ends now, or you can wait till we move on to the next part, and once we're finished the fringe, you can weave them in. I prefer to weave them in now because then it just keeps the project a little tidier to work with. So then we're just going to want to grab your cream or your contrast yarn, and we're going to do a row of single crochet and move on to the fringe. We'll see you soon. Okay, I'm quickly running out of light, so I am going to go ahead without weaving in my ends and move on to the fringe. So before we do the fringe, we're just going to take our contrast yarn and we're going to work a row of single crochet into each stitch across the top. So just join that with a slip stitch and then work a single crochet right back into that same stitch into every stitch across. Okay, just making sure you're working through those 2 loops. Then once you finish that side, you're going to turn it around and work a single crochet into each stitch across, and that's your starting chain. So just find the best place to work it where it looks the tidiest, but you want to make sure that when you do this side that you have the same side facing up so that your stitches look the same. So I'll show you what I mean. So this is the back side of that single crochet, and this is the front side. So you can see that they work differently. So if you flip-flop those around, then they're not going to match. The 2 ends won't match when you finish doing that part of the mug rug. Okay, so I'll go ahead and finish this up, and then I'll come back, and you can go ahead and cut 50 pieces of yarn. That will do the fringe for your entire project. So cut 50 pieces, 8 inches each, okay? And then I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I have just finished that row of single crochet, and I want to show you how to do the fringe. So for the fringe, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be inserting the hook from back to front. That first loop might be a little bit tight. And then we're going to take 2 of our strands and pull them through and create that little loop, and then grab it and pull it through. Now you're going to go across and do that for each stitch across. Now I want to also show you something else. The reason we do it from back to front is so that when you finish the knots, they look nice and tidy like this. And just like your single crochet, they do look different if they're done front to back. So make sure you do it the same way every way. So you see how that's a nice knot, and this one's kind of split. So for consistency, just make sure that you put your hook in back to front for each fringe that you do. Okay, so once you finish the fringe, you're going to see that it's really long, and the finished fringe, of course you can choose the length you want, but it's quite a bit shorter. So what I like to do is I like to trim off probably about 3/4 of an inch, and that makes it easier to start working the comb through. Okay, so once you have the fringe trimmed down, the easiest way to get the comb through it, or the brush or whatever you're using, is to start at the bottom and start unraveling the yarn. And then as you get the bottom done, I'm not doing it because I think it's gonna make too much noise. And then just slowly work your way up. And then just make sure that you're working all the way to the top of the knot. And then once I do that, I like to flip it over and make sure that this side is done really well, because I like to try to make mine as fluffy as possible. Now to trim it, actually, I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to finish this and then I'll show you how to, actually I'll show you on a different one. To trim it, so this one is pretty close, but I wasn't exactly as short as I need to be. So if you have a rotary cutter, this is a really easy way to get a super straight edge. Just make sure that everything is combed out, nice and straight. I cut this actually with my scissors. So I'm just gonna put it about here, a couple millimeters away from the edge or away from the knot. And then, see, this is not quite the same length. So I'm gonna put that over, pull that over there. So I hope I got a picture of that. And then just go across with the rotary cutter. Just go across with the rotary cutter. If you're, my ruler has a little metal edge, so make sure that you're not sitting on top of that. Put it, and then this, you need a fair amount of pressure to go through, okay? And that's it. Voila, isn't that nice and straight? And that's it, they're done. So just a reminder that this is a free pattern on my blog. So if you wanna, you know, just read it off the blog the next time, that's cool. It's a pretty easy pattern. I am on Instagram at Pretty Darn Adorable, and I love seeing what you guys make. So if you're on there, be sure to tag me if you post these little mug rugs. And that's everything for today. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. It's a very fun project, especially for the summer. This year I'm really trying to figure out projects to do in the summer that aren't necessarily dishcloths, because that's kind of my go-to. And I'm going to put a few videos here that I think you might enjoy making as well. So happy weekend to you, and I hope you have fun. Thanks again for joining me today, and until next time, bye-bye.